Hey, coming up on the show, we have a very talented musician, Michael Thomas. He's currently the guitarist in Adler's Appetite, playing with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses, one of my favorite bands. And he's got a great story of playing with Steven and Duff and Izzy from GNR too. So that's really cool. Plus, we're going to chat about some of his old bands and working with guitarist DJ Ashba, another member of Guns N' Roses, and also was in 6 a.m. And we're going to talk about Michael's new solo music and also how he gets those six-pack abs. So stay tuned.
So Chuck, where are you located?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Are you in Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Okay. How's the weather there? Is it nice?
It's getting warmer, man. It was cold a couple of weeks ago, and it's still kind of going through that last of the winter kind of feel. But it's starting to warm up, which is awesome because we had some really cold weather about 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm not much of a cold weather fan, so it's nice to get back to the warm weather.
Yeah, no, it's perfect right here. Now's the best time to visit Arizona if you want to come down, as I'm sure you've been here before, right?
I've toured through Arizona more times than I can count. I actually almost bought a house in Arizona about 10 years ago. So,
which area?
Are you familiar with Casa Grande?
Yep.
Yeah, so down that way, in between Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah, that's kind of like in the outskirts. That'd be tough to do the music business. Did you have to be in a certain area or do you just fly in for everything now?
Fly in for everything, my friend.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay. Is that cost effective too, though? Because I know the touring and the buses, that's too expensive. So the fly-in dates, everyone could just fly from any city then. If you're doing Adler's Appetite in Vegas, you all just take a ticket and...
That's what we've been doing now for quite some time because it is more cost effective. The overhead on the bus gets crazy. And, honestly, dude, with Steven, we did that for so many years, doing like 8-9 week tours. I mean, it really beats you up after a while. And the smart play with the whole situation these days is the flying dates because, you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the crowds are much better. They're the best days of the week, so the guarantees are better. Usually when you're out on a bus and you're doing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, really you're just kind of paying for the overhead, so you're out there breaking your back just to make sure that you're above water for the rest of the week. So what's really great now with the situation with Steven is a lot of our stuff is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll fly out like on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night, depending on how many shows we're doing. And then everybody's back home in their own bed on a Sunday. And we all live in different states. So we just fly in, we'll, run through a few things at sound check, and then we're good to go.
So what do you do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Just like recording and writing?
I do a lot of studio sessions. I write for other artists. I've got my own stuff that I've been working on. I have a handful of projects outside of music, other like endeavors in like graphic design and in the technology sector. Like, dude, I have my hands in everything.
Really? What I know you have the clothing thing. What's a Sick Truth? I like you clearly have a cool style, much cooler than me. But what's the industrial thing, or what'd you call it? Industrial?
Well, like the IT stuff.
IT, yeah. What is that? Like, what are you doing in that?
It can be a range of things, man. I'll get a call from, a different company saying, hey, I need somebody who understands this kind of like non-prod infrastructure. Can you come in and help us with this or run this? Or, they'll like portion out different contracts for like, short-term things. So depending on what I'm doing, like it's cool because it balances my brain, right? So I have the creative side and all the music stuff. And then I have like a business side that's very entrepreneurial outside of that, So I think it's a good balance for me.
Do you know the tech stuff, like with the production and the lighting and the audio and all that stuff with, because I feel like a lot of the musicians I interview do not know about, like, even with a simple Zoom call like this, like the lighting will be off or the audio will be garbled or echoey. Like there's so many things like that I feel like there's definitely a need for that. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I've had to kind of be a jack of all trades, and I think, being in the industry as long as I have been, you really kind of start to accumulate some knowledge, and you know, you start kind of venturing out in different areas where maybe you never really thought about doing things, you know, before. So I think to be effective and to get things done in, you know, cost effective manner, yeah, you kind of pick up these other things, and it helps you in your own stuff. I know whether it was from, you know, recording or tour managing, you know, I've done a ton of different things. And I think it's just good to, you know, be well-rounded like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, tell me about the new song. So it's called What's on Your Mind. It's a cover of that 80s song by Information Society. Cause at first I started listening and I was like, wait, I know this song. And then obviously it's a cover. Now, is that you singing on it?
Yeah, I did everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it was a song that I loved as a kid. And, you know, it's been something that I wanted to do and kind of reimagine. So I had time, obviously, last year because everybody was at home during the whole lockdown thing. So, you know, I kind of got back into revisiting some projects that I wanted to do, but just didn't have the time for. And that was one of the songs that I was really excited about doing. So I went to the studio here in Dallas, a studio that I've been working out of for quite some time now. There was a period of time where I was kind of flying in between LA and Dallas. I was living in LA at the time, but there was a record label that I was doing artist development for here in Dallas. So I was in the studio working with some kind of younger, newer bands that the label was interested in working with. And, you know, writing songs with them, you know, kind of developing their sound and style and getting them recorded. So it's a studio here in Dallas that I love. Buddy of mine who I work, you know, extensively with, you know, we just kind of got to work. And it was this kind of nice environment where it was just him and I. And we were kind of in this bubble and, you know, nothing was kind of off limits. So when it came to that song, you know, it was so kind of 80s techno synth pop that I wanted to replace those sounds, but use the guitar to do it. So like when you hear a lot of those electronic sounds all throughout the song, I mean, those are all guitars. You know, I'm kind of doing this thing where I have my Les Paul and I have the neck pickup volume off, and I use a toggle switch to get that kind of digital sound, you know, and then I use a wah pedal to get these sweeps and range. So it was really cool to reimagine it and do it with real instruments, because I think it brings a different feeling to the song. It's not a lot of like the, you know, the synth pop tracks. It's a little more mechanical, where I think this has a little more kind of girth and feel to it.
Yeah, no, it's a great update. It's like industrial kind of sounding. So you said it's real instruments. So that's real drum set. You play the drums too?
I do everything, but the drums, some of those are samples and they were looped together in the studio. So,
okay.
Yeah, but no, I do play the drums. I play the bass. Wow. I sing. I'm not sure if you saw on my page. I put out my own disc a little while back. The band name was called Fastback, and I, you know, wrote that record, recorded everything myself. My buddy Brian Saunders, who played with me in a number of touring bands, he played bass on the record. You know, did all the vocals and everything like right out of the house. It was like super organic, but it was a great education on, you know, recording, mixing, all that. So I did everything from start to finish. The only thing I didn't do on that record was the mastering. I sent that out. So yeah, man, I've taught myself to do a little bit of everything, because I always kind of fell into the trap of, well, if I have to go to other people to do things, it may take a long time, you know, and I really like being self-contained like that.
Yeah, I mean, but you have some good musician friends that now, if you do more music, you put out a full album, would you have some of those people guest on there, like have Steven play drums on a few songs or something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If that opportunity presents itself, you know, I totally would, you know. And you know, Steven and I have written a number of songs together and released some stuff like back when his book came out, My Appetite for Destruction. You know, I wrote the song that went out with that book.
Alive? Yeah, I love that song.
Thanks,
that's a great all three of those. It's Alive, Stardog, or is it Stardog, and Fading. Yeah. They sound more like the Appetite stuff than a lot of the other Guns N' Roses projects. Like, he clearly went for that distinct sound. I love it. I think it's great stuff.
Well, Alive was me in my studio putting that whole thing together, and I said, okay, I need a really cool riff to start this thing out with. That's kind of definitely dirty and kind of sleazy and has that early GNR feel. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that I was really big on was I have to incorporate that cowbell.
Yes.
So, so I basically produced the whole demo in my home studio and then brought it to the guys, and they really liked the tune. And it was funny because I had all the lyrics and the melodies written. So I basically, at that time, took Steven out to my car. I played him the song in my car, and then I sang over top of it so he could hear the chorus, he could hear the melodies. So not shortly after that, we went to the studio and cut the track, and then all the guys in the band played on the actual, recording of it. Steven obviously did the drums, Chips Enough from Enough's Enough played bass.
Right.
So yeah, it came together great. Actually, Anthony Fox, my old rhythm guitar player from Beautiful Creatures, produced that track. And yeah, I mean, he's done a number of like really cool projects over the years. I don't know if you're familiar with Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think I must have sent him a friend request. Like, it had to have been like, I feel like it was maybe years ago, maybe not. Maybe it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. But he just accepted it like the other day. And I was like, oh, cool. Like that happens like sometimes. I think people they forget Facebook or whatever. And so I get these random like, blah, 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 accepted your friend request. I'm like, I don't remember when I sent this. Like that was a long time ago, but it's cool.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely a name I've seen a lot. So Beautiful Creatures, that wasn't your first, was Engines of Aggression your first kind of big band that when you took off for LA and got there?
Yeah. Engines was really my first big touring band. And after Engines, it was weird. So I was doing Engines, and I was in a bunch of bands at kind of one time, just trying to work my way up the ladder in LA. So I was doing Engines, and then through a buddy of mine, I heard about another opening with a band called Tuff, which was another band from the 80s.
Yeah. I had Stevie on the show. Yeah, he's great. So that was going to say, maybe that's the first that, I mean, Engine of Aggression, you guys had a record deal though, right? Or no?
Yeah. The first record came out on Priority Records, and I joined the band shortly after. We started doing new tracks with some pretty cool people at the time. It was Steve Duda, who had done some work on the Nine Inch Nails Fragile record, and then also did some stuff for the Rob Zombie remix record. So his style kind of fit in with what we were doing pretty well. And shortly after that, we ended up going to Japan and doing a tour of Japan. And I had gotten the Beautiful Creatures gig like maybe 2 weeks before the Japan run. So I kind of knew that was like my last hurrah with Engines. So when I came back from Japan, it was just full bore with Creatures.
And also Bang Tango, the kind of, you were in those together simultaneously?
Yeah, and it's funny because the whole thing with Bang Tango was just, Joe and I were in between records, right? And we were writing the second record. We were in the studio with Bo Hill, and we were just looking for a way to kind of, have fun, play some shows, and make some money in between starting the second Beautiful Creatures record. So we had put together just a jam band with a couple of buddy of ours from the London Choir Boys, and we had booked some shows. And we were just going to go out and do some like Aerosmith, AC/DC, and just kind of have some fun, while we were, in the studio and getting that second record together. We booked the shows, and then like it was a week or two before we were the first gig, and the guys in the Choir Boys got this offer to go out on a tour, and they had to bail out on the thing that we were doing. So we grabbed some other friends, and we kind of filled the gaps in the set list with some Bang Tango songs. And honestly, that's how the whole thing kind of started. It wasn't even like a conscious effort. We did the gig. The next day, our booking agent's phone was ringing with offers for Bang Tango. So Joe and I at that point decided, well, hey, I think we have something here. Let's kind of revisit that. The band hadn't done anything in years. And, honestly, that was one of my favorite records, like Psycho Cafe and Dancing on Coals. I love those records. So, we went out and we did that. And we were kind of doing that at the same time as Beautiful Creatures. So, it was a cool period of working on original music and then revisiting some classic material.
You didn't play on the Pistol Whipped and the Bible Belt though one, did you?
No, that was probably a number of years after I left the band. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Tough, Bang Tango, Beautiful Creatures, Engines of Aggressions, Faster Pussycat. You joined.
Yes.
Were you in that during Beautiful Creatures and Bang Tango too? It's like
No,
for a few
actually,
years.
Pussycat came about probably like a year after that.
Okay.
So I had left Beautiful Creatures, and I got a couple offers from some other bands to come in and step into another band that had already been established and put out records. So here's a weird part of the story. I was playing with Beautiful Creatures, and every now and then I run into DJ Ashba, who was the original guitar player for Beautiful Creatures.
Future Guns N' Roses guitarist, and
Yeah.
6 a.m. and yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah. So we would hang out occasionally. We'd run into each other in Hollywood or whatever, and he'd ask me how the band was doing, and he'd come down to gigs every now and then. So after I left Beautiful Creatures, like, man, literally it's so weird. Like 2 days later, I'm hanging out with some friends having a drink in Hollywood, and I run into DJ. And so we start talking, and he's like, "So what's going on?" I said, "Oh, I'm leaving that situation. Want to go do, work on more original music." I said, "What are you up to?" And he was telling me, "Oh, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm putting together some tunes, and I have a new manager." So we went out to his car, and he played me a couple tracks, and I was like, "Oh man, stuff sounds good." And I said, "Best of luck to you." And then I left. And then it was like a day and a half later, my phone rings, and it was his manager, and Katie McNeil, who she went on to manage a number of acts, but most notably Neil Diamond, and actually ended up marrying Neil. Yeah. So Katie called me and was like, "Hey, DJ obviously has seen you play the Creature stuff. He's starting his own thing. He wants to focus more on vocals instead of playing guitar. Would you be interested in coming down and jamming with the guys?" So I was like, "Sure." So I went down there, and like literally that afternoon, we moved all my gear into the studio and then just started working together on music. So we did that for probably about a year and a half. And we went from working with Katie and then went over to 10th Street Management with Alan Kovac. And we were with Alan for quite a while. And then, there was other projects coming down the pipeline. And I remember like we were writing, but we weren't really playing out. We were just kind of, waiting for our chance to get in the studio and record the record. And, it kept getting delayed with other artists. First it was like Blondie, then it was like Hanson, then it was Meatloaf, and then it was Buck Cherry. And, after a year and a half, I'm like, "Listen, dude, I got to get back out on the road, man. It's killing me not to be playing." So shortly after that, I got the call for Steven and to go out and do a tour with Adler. So I ended up doing that. DJ ended up switching back to playing guitar and brought in a singer. And they did that for like another, I want to say like year or two, but it just never really got off the ground,
So what was that project called? Did any of that music ever see the light of day?
No, I don't think it ever did. It was just called Ashba.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you get paid for stuff like that, or how does that?
Sorry?
Do you get paid for stuff like that, or is it just like
maybe someday? At that time, no, we weren't on retainer. So was also tough, kind of making that stretch and not being out working,
Right.
We did have a song there was a period of time, especially during that period, where like songs for video games were huge. And it was just kind of getting started with like Xbox. So we had done a song, and dude, it's the craziest thing. I forgot about this. So Nile Rodgers came down to one of our rehearsals. Nile Rodgers is obviously.
I'm trying to I definitely know the name, but I'm trying to place how I know that name.
Oh, okay.
I knew Alan Kovac too. Like these names, like I know these names, but I'm just trying to blank on how I know those names.
Oh, so Alan Kovac, he is the head of 10th Street. He's managed Motley Crue and all those big bands for years. But Nile Rodgers, he had worked on a bunch of amazing stuff. A lot of stuff over the years. I think I want to say like Parliament Funkadelic and Sly and the Family Stone and like a number of huge hits. Like, don't quote me on that, but I'm thinking those are some of the projects that he was involved with. But anyways, he helped us pick I believe, the song that ended up on the Xbox game. It was called Outlaw Volleyball. So one of the songs ended up in that video game. So when you asked, did any of that material see the light of day?
Oh,
I
okay.
think that was like one of the only songs that did. Now, once I left the band, DJ, like I said, went back to guitar, and you know, he brought in a singer. And I'm not really kind of sure. I didn't really kind of follow what happened after that. But oddly enough, we would run into one another every now and then, you know, in LA. But when I was out with Brand New Machine, we ended up going over to India to open up for Guns N' Roses, and DJ was in the band at that time. So I walked into the hotel bar in India, and there was DJ, and I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and it was as weird probably for him as it was for me, because I didn't really equate him being in the band at that time, you know. And all of a sudden, I'm on the opposite side of the world in a hotel bar, and then there's my old bandmate. It was like super weird, man. Super weird.
That's yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Because I just listened to that Brand New Machine stuff on Spotify, the Devil Made Me Do It album. It's really good. I was like, oh, this is cool stuff. So that you guys actually opened for Guns N' Roses. That's pretty crazy. So I was going to ask you if you had any interactions with the band, but clearly you saw DJ.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was Bumblefoot was in the band too, or
who? Bumblefoot
was in there too, or was it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I think I saw him in Vegas like that, and it was, and I can't remember if I had Chicken, Buckethead? Sorry, not Chickenhead.
Yeah,
Buckethead was because I know there was a third guitarist. I know it was definitely DJ Ashba and Bumblefoot, and those guys are phenomenal to see live. I know people will say that's not the original band, but they were good. I mean, they were freaking. Axl obviously picked them for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, the show was great, man, and you know, everybody was super cool. You know, we oddly enough, we all kind of met up at the airport the next day, or sorry, like later that morning. I want to say it was like 6 a.m. It was some ungodly hour, but yeah, they were super cool. And you know, Ron, actually, I had oddly enough, I met at a Halloween party with Frank that a buddy of mine was throwing in LA. I also ran into him. I think we did a show together when he was playing guitar. He briefly played guitar for Lita Ford at one point.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So it was us. It was Steven Adler and Lita Ford and Warrant. It was like at Toyota Park, I think in Chicago. It's like a 4th of July show. Yeah. So, it's a really small world when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know? So yeah, those guys are great, phenomenal musicians. And what's funny is we just played Vegas, the Fremont Street Experience.
Yeah, I thought about going to that. I can't remember why I didn't. It's only a 5-hour drive.
Dude, it was amazing. There's a picture on my website and one that I posted on social media from that night. 15,000 people. It was unbelievable. Damn. It was like the biggest crowd they ever had. And the craziest thing is, I show up to the gig and DJ's in the dressing room. I had no idea that he was going to be down there. He lives in Vegas, but he was talking with a rhythm guitar player, and he came down to the show. So, you know, I ended up seeing him there that night, which is probably, you know, the first time in a while that I had seen him. So it's just weird cross section of these.
Well, yeah, and it's weird that you play with Todd Kerns in Adler's Appetite, and he's also in Slash's band. I mean, that's a funny connection there too. And I just saw Slash's band, and Todd is he's such a good vocalist. I mean, he's I couldn't believe how well he could sing.
Dude, he's a phenomenal person. And you know what's really cool is he and I have shared similar bands together. And when I say that, I mean, we've known the same people for years. And there was a time when I was out with Faster Pussycat, Tammy and I were probably in the States, and the guitar player, Brent Muscat, started his own version, and Todd was a part of that. So
that always gets weird when there's two versions of the band.
Yeah. And so I knew of Todd, but I was never really in the same place at the same time, so we never met. For the thing with Steven, we had our bass player that we've had for a couple of years, Tanya O'Callahan. She had some other commitments, so we had to bring in somebody to play bass. And Tanya just recently picked up a gig for Whitesnake, so she's the new bass player in Whitesnake.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So our rhythm guitar player lives in Vegas as well, so he reached out to Todd and said, "Hey, I don't know if this fits into your schedule, but we have shows. Obviously, you know the material, so we'd love to have you come out with us if you're around." So yeah, it just ended up working with his schedule. So yeah, he was out with us for a while, and dude, he is such a wonderful person. He's so awesome, and it was funny because like you show up to the gig and we didn't really have a chance to rehearse, but obviously, the guy's a pro and knows the material. So we ran through a couple of things at sound check and had a great show in New York. And then the next day we were traveling to Pennsylvania. And it was the first time that we actually got to sit down and talk, and just kind of get to know one another. And dude, he's one of my favorite human beings on the planet.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you were playing Slash's parts in Adler's Appetite, how hard is that? Because I have a friend who plays guitar and he tried some of those solos and some of the moves that Slash does, and he's realizing how hard it is, like the moves. He goes, yeah, I'm going to turn my guitar 90 degrees like Slash does. And he's like, I only got 30 degrees. I can't do it. Like, do you try to do all the moves too?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, for me, I'm a pretty physical player. Like, I run around a lot. I don't sit still.
Yeah.
And so I already kind of naturally kind of do that stuff. I'm definitely was a big fan of Kiss when I was a kid. I love like the big rock show,
Yeah.
I'm just not that guy who can stand in one place. It doesn't happen. So, for me, when I'm doing that stuff, it's really just having more fun with the material, like I try to stick true to the parts. But I also just kind of try to be me, like, Stephen and I have been doing this now for a really long time. My very first tour with Stephen was back in 2004. And, the one thing that he always impressed upon me was do your thing, have fun with the material, obviously play the parts, but, do your interpretation, which I love because I there's only one Slash and he's amazing. There's no replicating that. He's one of the reasons why I got into music. So I just try to have fun with the material and do it justice, and then throw a little bit of my own sizzle in there, and just have a blast with it, which we do. And what's really cool about it too is I find that the people who come to the show, they really have a good time, and I don't think they're really sure what to expect at first. Like, there's nobody like dressing or looking or trying to imitate anybody from that classic Guns N' Roses lineup. It's just us doing our interpretation of it. And what's funny too is when you think about it, the bass players we've had in the band, except for Todd, they were all played with their fingers. Chips Enough plays with his fingers.
Yeah.
Tanya O'Callaghan plays with their fingers. It's a completely different sound than Duff playing with a pick.
Right.
So again, it's the parts, but it's kind of an interpretation of it, as those stellar musicians, their own interpretation.
Right.
So,
well, the hardest thing, I mean, besides the guitar is obviously the vocals, but your singer, I mean, I just watched a video. I saw you guys in like, I don't know, like 2013 or something. You came to Phoenix and Tempe, and I got a picture with Steven. It was awesome. And Chip was in the band, but I haven't seen you with this singer, I don't think. And I saw a video online. I think it was from the Vegas show. And he's like, where you are, you're in the jungle. But, he did it in that pitch, which it's not easy to do that. So that's a great find on that singer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so much of that sound, I mean, each person respectively makes up that Guns N' Roses sound. But I mean, the vocals are iconic, right? So we've had a number of different singers. The guy that we actually had before the person we have now, Ari, was Konstantin Maroulis from American Idol. I don't know if you remember Konstantin, but he did a lot of Broadway stuff. And it was cool to have him do his thing, but it was definitely his own interpretation. He didn't sound anything like Axl. So, it's great to have a guy who can consistently pull it off and, really, really nail it, because it's not easy.
No, it's definitely not. Who the other piece of the puzzle with Guns N' Roses was Izzy Stradlin, the other guitarist. I'm still so fascinated with him. Does Steven keep in touch with him? Like, does he ever talk about him? Does he tell you Izzy stories? Like, give me some sort of Izzy Stradlin something. I'm just so fascinated by that guy.
I'll tell you a great story, man. So
Great.
Izzy has come down and hung out with us a number of times.
Wow.
And what's crazy is, like, if he walked into the room, you wouldn't even know it was him. He's such a low key character. He's tall. He's a big dude. But you wouldn't be like, oh, that's the guy from Guns N' Roses. I mean, he really is kind of like a mystery. He was a mystery back in the day. He's still a mystery today, you know?
Yeah.
So we did a show. This was a while ago now, like probably 2010 or 11. But anyways, it was like the 20th anniversary of Appetite. And so we did a show in LA. And wait, was it in 2000? Gosh, yeah, maybe 2008. I don't know. That was a 20th anniversary show. Anyways, so we had a number of the guys from the band come down to rehearsal because they were going to get up and do a song with us. So Izzy was really good about showing up to the rehearsals and going through the parts. And Duff came down as well. And so the craziest thing was, you know, I was like 12 years old or something when that record came out. You know, I've been really lucky. Like, a lot of the guys that I grew up listening to, I've had the opportunity to work with or tour with or record with. So I'm in this room with like 3/5 of the original Guns N' Roses. And it's the first time that's happened since, you know, I guess whenever, like 1990, whenever that happened with Steven, you know?
Yeah.
So it was amazing. We have all these guys in the room, right? And we're going through the different songs. And so we launch into Welcome to the Jungle, and we start the opening riff, and Steven starts his hats and the kick. And we're about, I don't know, like maybe 15, 20 seconds into the song, and Duff holds up his hand and he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And so we all stop, and he looks at Izzy and he goes, oh, hey, what's the chord change here again? And Izzy looks at him, he looks at his guitar, and he goes, I don't know, ask him. And he points to me. So now here I am in this room with these guys, and I'm going through the opening notes of the song, just kind of refreshing everybody's memory. And I'm thinking, dude, if you would have told me as like a 12-year-old kid that one day I would be in the room with these guys from Guns N' Roses going over these parts, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There's no way that'll ever happen.
Oh, that's fucking... Is this the show where Slash showed up, but then he like didn't get on stage because he had just rejoined Guns N' Roses, and he's like, ooh, I don't want to piss Axl off.
No, it was
told me that.
It was a thing with Velvet Revolver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I thought there was another time where it was like you guys were all there. It was like 4/5 of Guns N' Roses. Slash showed up, but Slash didn't play because he didn't. I think it was maybe he didn't want to like step on Axl's toes at the time or something.
Yeah, I know at that time, you know, Velvet Revolver was in full swing, and maybe there was some stuff going on with Scott at the time. I'm not really sure, but he was there for a bit, and then he peeled out. So I don't know. But, you know, all the other guys came up and performed, and not just one song, but like I think we did Brownstone, we did Welcome to the Jungle, and Paradise City. So, you know, it was awesome. And I got this great photo of from that show, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, there's me, and there's Duff and Izzy and Steven. And Izzy is the most elusive one of all of them. So to have him on stage is pretty awesome. That's
amazing. You'll have to show me that picture or send it to me.
I will send it to you. Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, because the thing with Steven is like, I mean, there's nothing against Matt Sorum, but Steven's drumming style, I don't know, it's something about it that made that first GNR album. It's something about the way I don't know. I heard it described as a swing. I don't know. I don't know anything about drums or drum style. I just know that it's very different. And again, nothing against Matt Sorum or Frank Furr, I believe is the new drummer. They're both phenomenal drummers, but the drum sound on the first record, it just had such a chemistry with the guitars and the rest of the band. I feel like it's hard to duplicate. I'd be so curious to hear what all 5 of the original guys could do, even for just like 2 new songs, record a new song. Especially, I'm sure Izzy's sitting on tons of material, and Axl and Slash too.
Yeah, I think everybody would love that, man, because you're absolutely right. And again, the weird thing about Guns N' Roses to me is it's like lightning in a bottle, right? You had 5 guys that were completely different from one another, but when they came together, they made this unique sound that was just like it was lightning in a bottle. It very rarely happens. And with Steven's drumming style, the very first time I realized just how he has his own thing. Like, you talk about like guitar players who play with feel, or singers who emote. That's very hard to do through the drums. And when you think about his playing, really, he emotes through the drums. And very, very first time we ever got together to rehearse, he was living in Vegas at the time, and I drove from LA to Vegas. And we got in the room, and, literally 30 seconds into the first song, I was like, wow, I've been playing these songs, over the years as a kid in jam bands or as a cover song. But when you get in the room with the guy and you hear that beat, it takes on a completely different life. And it then cements it to the sound that was on the record. And it just completely transforms the song. It's the weirdest thing, dude. I played that song with, 20 different drummers in different incarnations of bands or cover stuff or whatever, just for fun. But it wasn't until I got in that room with Steven and he started playing that it was like, wow, this is the real deal. This is what makes it special. So it's cool. And it's, again, when you think about that record and what they achieved, it is so scarce, such a rare thing to have those different personalities come and make this crazy, identifiable, like unique album.
Absolutely. Now, so what happened with the tour? Because when they first got back together, I thought he was going to come back and join the tour either for a couple songs or like 5 songs or something. And then he hurt his back or whatever happened to that. And then he never came back. I mean, because they've been touring now for years and I haven't seen him do any shows.
Yeah, I know he hurt his back, and then he would come out and guest, during certain shows. So, I think he did some stuff in Cleveland, Dodger Stadium. He went down to Argentina. As a matter of fact, when he went down to Argentina to guest with GNR was when he found the singer we have now.
Oh, okay. Was he playing in a different band at the time? Ari?
He was playing in a band in Argentina that covered a lot of GNR stuff. So basically there was a big after party after the show that him and his wife went to, and his band was playing. And Steven got up and did some songs with the guys, and he was so blown away by the kid's voice. He was like, hey, give me your number. I want to stay in touch with you. Wow. So we flew him up for an audition, probably like, I don't know, I want to say like maybe less than a year later. And then, he became our guy. So yeah, that's how that happened.
That's awesome. I want to see you guys with this new singer. I don't know if you'd say he's new, but I haven't seen you with Ari yet. So hopefully you guys are you going to do a tour? I know you have a couple shows lined up, but
yeah, we have a show in Oklahoma on March 25th. It's us and Vince Neil with Molly Crew.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a great night. And then the next night we are in Utah, Salt Lake City. And then I'm not sure what the next date is after that. I know that they're working on a bunch of stuff right now, so it's still kind of trickling in.
Okay. Are you going to release new music as Adler's Appetite?
I don't know. I hope so. We've been working on a few things here and there. And then, the producer that we're working with at the time, he's out on the road right now. So it's a matter of kind of making schedules work. It's great that we all live in different states, but, technology, you can send files back and forth. So we would definitely like to. I think it's just, kind of a matter of getting everybody back in the same place to kind of put a stake in the ground and say, okay, these are the ones we're going to do. But I mean, we've demoed a ton of stuff.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because I always want to ask this too. I was so confused because personally, I love the name Adler's Appetite. I think it's a badass name. It's perfect. But then he changed it to Adler for a little bit, and then and then at one point it was just Steven Adler. So now we're back to Adler's Appetite, and we're sticking with that because I love that name.
I mean, it's funny because I see it advertised different ways. I'll see it advertised as Adler's Appetite. I'll see it advertised as Steven Adler of Guns N' Roses. So to be honest with you, it's as much of a mystery to me as it is to you. How that happens, I don't know.
Okay, all right. How's Steven doing? Is he staying sober? I know that's always been a struggle for him, but I know he had gone a pretty long streak staying sober.
Yeah, no, he's doing good, man. I actually just talked to him last week. Yeah, he's at home and he's doing good. He's healthy. He's looking forward to these shows coming up because it's been since I think like the end of October or first week of November was our last show. So we've had 3 months off, and everybody's itching to get back out there. And he's been playing great, man. I'll tell you what, he doesn't miss a beat, man. When we go out, it's just like muscle memory. It's amazing, So he's doing really good.
That's good to hear. Now, are you sober too, or how? Because you have like a 6-pack. I'm like, I gotta ask you, how the hell do you get a 6-pack? I've tried to get a 6-pack my entire life. I've tried all different diets. I've tried vegan, keto, all this. I cannot get a 6-pack. What do you do? What is your workout? What's the trick? How do I do it?
So thank you for saying that. Dude, it's honestly, I really truly believe it's a balance of diet and exercise, because the diet is just as important as the exercise,
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, dude, it's just, there's no magic formula. It's just a lot of hard work. But I really like being in the gym, and I try to go at least a couple of days a week. I try to stay on a schedule, especially when we have shows coming up, So, I think a great thing is you want to do the abs. It's one thing to do it's one thing to do sit-ups, which is good, but I just really feel like you gotta get weights in the mix. Otherwise the muscles aren't going to grow, So I do a lot of those seated abs with the weight thing, a lot of cardio, running is good. And then, man, dude, a real healthy diet. I eat pretty stripped down too,
And do you not drink at all, or are you just in moderation, or?
Oh, dude, super in moderation these days. I enjoy like a glass of wine here and there. If it's a Friday night and I'm meeting some friends, I'll have like a drink or two. But honestly, I have so much on my plate. I can't do it like we did back in the day. You know what I mean?
Did you back in the day though? You were crazy back in the day?
Oh man, I was in Faster Pussycat for almost 8 years. I mean,
yeah. And that's when he was not sober. Tammy was not sober at that point.
No, not at that point. He is now, and he has been for I want to say 5-6 years or something.
Yeah. That seems to be the path. It's like you go really hard and you literally party like a rock star, and then you have to either cold turkey or at least dial it back a little as you get older.
Yeah. And he I think had a health scare, and he just went cold turkey. And I think he sounds great. He looks great. I mean, honestly, I think he's done a really good job. But for me, it's all about moderation. And that's just kind of like my lifestyle, because I have so much going on. I can't afford to wake up hungover and have my day wasted.
Right. No, it's like Def Leppard, Phil Collin, I think it was the guitar player. Like he talked about how he got sober, and then he would wake up and then he's like, oh no, I have all this like time. So then that's why he started working out and doing all the martial arts and stuff. He's got like a 6-pack too. He's like in his 60s, I think.
Yeah, he's in great shape, man. And who else I'm really impressed with and always have been is Duff. When he got sober, man, he looks great. He's like,
so does Slash. When I just saw Slash has like these giant biceps. He never had those before. He's like ripped.
Yeah. It's funny how it changes, right? It's funny that you go from this 360 almost transformation, and it happened, with, I don't know, I guess as you get older, you get wiser, or at least you hope you do.
Right. No. And then, like you said, the health scares, sometimes that, I know Duff had the pancreas thing, and like, it was like, and same thing like Zach Wilde. It was kind of these things where it's like, if you keep drinking, you're going to die. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to die. So, you know, I might like alcohol, but I don't love it that much. So yeah, no, that makes sense.
And, you know,
Cool.
I'm lucky that for me, it never got to that point. I just kind of woke up one day and I was like, nah, you know what? I need to get back in the gym. I need to take care of myself, you know, because if I want to go out and do this to the physical level that I enjoy doing this, then I really need to take care of myself. Because again,
Yeah.
if you check out some of those videos, man, it's a very physical show.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important. Not only just for the physical, like running around, but like, I think part of is the look of the I mean, if you went out there and you're wearing like Dockers and a button up shirt, like it's not the same. That's not rocky. You got to like look the part and look cool. And I mean, you have your Sick Truth clothing company that I'm sure that's all your clothes that you're wearing and stuff. Is that how can I get some of those clothes? I need some cool clothes.
So actually Sick Truth is a clothing company that a buddy of mine has in Europe.
Oh,
yeah. And he's been really great about, you know, sending me out stuff. And he works actually a lot and gotten a lot of stuff out to the guys in Alice Cooper's band, Tommy Hendrickson and the rest of the guys. So I had a clothing line called Johnny Ringo.
okay.
And so I was heavily involved with that for a period of time. I've also done a bunch of design work for different companies. So I was telling the story the other day. So I was mentioning that I have my hands in a bunch of different little things, you know?
Yeah.
One of them was a bunch of design work that I did for Urban Outfitters. So I had done a bunch of designs for those guys, and actually 2 years in a row had like their best sellers.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it is the style. And so obviously you have that down. That's awesome. Do you have any other future plans for music, like in terms of other bands that you want to play with, or like forming a super group or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that just because I love staying busy, you know, and you know, I've met so many awesome people, you know, in the music industry that I think, yeah, that would be a blast to put together like a super group and go out and do stuff. Everybody's so busy though. Sometimes it's hard to kind of get that together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, as far as other bands that I'd love to play with, I mean, dude, there's a bunch, and you know, it's cool because I get calls for different things, and I always find like I fall into these different projects where, you know, I end up working with an array of people, like, you know, from like the 80s guys to
Didn't you play with Saliva?
Yeah, I helped those guys out. They had some shows and their guitar player for some reason couldn't do the show, so I stepped in there. I did a song in a music video with Snoop Dogg of all people,
Yeah.
which was awesome. I've done a lot of work with like different people from American Idol and The Voice. So, you know, I was over in Europe doing that for a bit, and that was much more on the pop side of things. So I get a really good variety of projects. But I mean, honestly, what I've been focusing on heavily the past, like, you know, month, 2 months is getting out that new single, the cover of What's on Your Mind. And then I have a number of other songs I'm going to be releasing this year and keep getting out original material, keep getting out new stuff. So I'm actually heading back into the studio next week to finish up some mixes for the next release.
Perfect. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I'll look for that. Look for new songs. And like I said, my suggestion, get some like DJ Ashba and Steven to guest on some of your songs. That would be cool to see that. Now I always end each episode with a charity. Is there a charity that you work with or that you want to promote here at the end if people have a few bucks after they buy your song?
Yeah, well, I mean, in Dallas, I have some good friends who work with Paws in the City. So it's a rescue for animals. Honestly, I feel like anything around that animal space, you know, it's like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you have dogs or cats or both? Or
I had a little Chihuahua for 16 and a half years. So you'll see her on my social media and on my website as well. There's a great shot of her at SIR with a Spinal Tap road case behind her, which I love that photo. But yeah, no, she was my sidekick for 16 and a half years. Unfortunately, she passed away last July 2020, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, any kind of like animal charity, you know, I think is huge, man, because, you know, animals don't have a voice, you know, and, you know, so many, either end up in shelters, or, unfortunately, end up roaming the streets. And I just think anything that we can do to help them, whether it's dogs, cats, whatever, is super admirable because they can't help themselves,
I agree 100%. I'll put that in the notes, and people can follow you on social media to keep up with all the next songs. Do you have any plans for the next single?
Yeah. The song is selected, and I'm hoping that the next one will probably be out, I'd say, let's see, March, April, probably like the end of April, 1st of May.
Okay, perfect. I'll look for that. Well, thanks so much, Michael. It's been a blast.
Dude, Chuck, thank you so much.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Great stuff from Michael Thomas. I don't know if I'll ever have those six-pack abs, but a guy can try, right? So make sure to check out the new song by Michael Thomas. Follow him and Adler's Appetite on social media. Follow me on social media. And your likes, shares, and comments on social media, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, all that stuff, they help us all out immensely, and we all appreciate it. So if you could, also, please subscribe to my show on YouTube or wherever you listen, if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I think Google Podcasts you can subscribe to, I hope. And if you want to go that extra mile, if you can write me a review on Apple Podcasts or rating on Spotify or whatever they have on Google Podcasts, that would help me out a lot too. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great rest of your day. And remember, shoot for the moon.